Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm back for another week of what my family had for dinner. This week we're saying goodbye to fall and hello to winter. And since it's the week before Thanksgiving, I'm showing how I added a little bit of Thanksgiving throughout our week. We love having a big spread for our Thanksgiving, but we're not really leftovers people, so we didn't want to have a ton of food the week after Thanksgiving. And this way we get to have all of our favorites, just not all on the same day. So on Sunday, I am making some hot turkey sandwiches. We picked up this fully cooked turkey breast at Sam's Club, and all we had to do was warm it up. I added a little bit of water to the bottom of my pan just so it would have a lot of moisture. In a way, it's kind of like we're having our leftovers before Thanksgiving. Our first Thanksgiving side dish that we're going to have for a regular night dinner is green bean casserole. On a smaller scale, of course. And so into my pan, I am just mixing 1 can of drained French-style green beans and 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. And I'm adding a little bit of liquid aminos. Normally I would use Worcestershire sauce, but this is what I had. I know that some recipes call for soy. And then once I get that all mixed together, I'm just going to start adding a couple other ingredients, like some shredded cheese. I know when it comes to green bean casserole and cheese, some do and some don't. And I also added a handful of celery and onions just because I wanted a little bit of a different texture as well. Then I came back and I sprinkled in some French fried onions. And I like to mix these right into the casserole. It's just my preference. I'm going to swap out my green bean casserole for the turkey breast and let that cook and add some gravy to my turkey, and then it's going back in. Hey there everyone! So I am just taking a cooking break, I guess you could say. I'm sitting down. Got my bag here for my potato peels. I have my little strainer for when they're all done. And I am gonna get to work getting these potatoes peeled. We're gonna do some mashed potatoes. While the potatoes are boiling, I got to work making a cranberry fluff dessert. For this recipe, I'm using a can of crushed pineapple and a can of sweetened condensed milk, and then a packet of strawberry jello mix, and I'm just going to mix that all up in the bowl. Then once I have that all stirred together, I'm adding a can of whole berry cranberry sauce, and it has to be the whole berry kind, not the jelly stuff. And I learned that the hard way one year, and it definitely was not the same. Once I get everything all mixed together, then I'm going to come in with 1 container of whipped topping and some mini marshmallows. And the last step, which I really like, but the kids usually like it without nuts, is I'm adding some chopped pecans. And because I'm not taking this anywhere, it's just staying home with us this week, I can do what I want with it. I just laid out some Texas toast for us to build our turkey sandwiches on, and I am slicing up that turkey breast into slices and making sure that there's gravy in between each slice. I just needed to finish up our mashed potatoes and it would be time to eat. And to get those done, I am just adding some butter and some sour cream, a little bit of milk, and of course some of my house seasoning, which is garlic and onion powder, salt, and pepper. I made a big container of that seasoning mix up, and that way it saves me time. I don't have to grab so many spice bottles or take so many steps around my kitchen. And here is our dinner, and it is all ready to go. It actually gave us all of the Thanksgiving feels without getting super stuffed. And of course there were leftovers, but not enough to feed the whole neighborhood. I like to plan a really easy dinner for Mondays because you never know what you're going to get. And so for this Monday, I am just making some of these frozen pierogies with some smoked sausage. Does it seem like we have smoked sausage every week? Because I think we do. And that's because, like I said, it's super easy. And for our side dish that tastes like the holidays, we are making some Brussels sprouts. I'm just trimming off all of the yellow leaves and the stems. I added a little bit of water just to get them nice and steamy. Seasoned with some garlic and onion powder. Oh, and I added a little bit of that stuff here too. Once those pierogies were getting a little tender, then I just added my smoked sausage. Using smoked sausage just kind of cuts out that extra step of having to cook your meat beforehand. And the guys here in my house love sausage of every kind. So this type of dish is happiness to them. Now these Brussels sprouts are ready to get fancied up. And it was a little hard for me to hold back on the other ingredients because I'm used to making a lot more Brussels than this. And I added a little more bacon than I should have. I'm just using the bacon pieces and some chopped pecans again. And I added a couple of teaspoons of brown sugar. And you could make these more glazy if you wanted, but I just didn't want to. I was just kind of going for a simple, crunchy texture. On Tuesday, we kind of just did a fend for yourself because I had to work, and so we're going to skip on over to Wednesday. And we had discussed making a ham for Thanksgiving instead of turkey this year, but then we were gifted a turkey, so we're going to have turkey, but we still wanted to have some ham. And so I picked up these ham steaks. This is the Smithfield brand. I did forget to flip it over and show you that part. But we got these at Walmart and they were actually very good. So I'm just cutting each ham steak into half and then I'm just going to warm them up. So I could have fried it, could have done a lot of stuff with it, but I just wanted to heat it up. If I had more time, I would have loved to make a whole ham dinner, but since this was a work day, we are just going for ham steak. And I just added the butter, celery, and onion to infuse some flavor. And next in my casserole dish, I am going to make some cheesy hash brown casserole. I'm using some shredded hash browns and some garlic and onion, a can of cheddar cheese soup, and I'm also going to add about a half a cup of sour cream. Traditionally, this recipe calls for cream of chicken or cream of mushroom soup, but I feel like most holiday side dishes lean heavily on cream of soup, and I just am not feeling it, so I was looking for a different version, and I really did like this one with the cheese soup in place of the cream soups. In fact, I think I may have liked it better. And once I had all of the ingredients mixed together, I just kind of smoothed it out in the casserole dish and topped it with some sharp shredded cheese. After adding that cheese layer, then I just added some French fried onions. Then you could just dot the top with butter, or you could just daub the top with butter like I did. And speaking of butter, let's put some here too. Once those fried onions started looking brown and crispy, I just removed it and gave it a check to see that the potatoes were cooked all the way through, and they were. So let's just flip that back over and act like we weren't just digging through it. I know a lot of people sweeten up their ham with a sugary glaze, but that's just not how we like ours. And we really did enjoy the taste of this ham, and we're happy to have it, as we have decided to have turkey next Thursday. What are you having? I love the bowl trend where, you make a dish all in one bowl. My husband is the kind of person that doesn't like his food to touch. We are just opposites in that manner, because I have always liked to eat all of my food in one bowl. And to get this harvest bowl started, I am just cutting up some cabbage, and I'm just going to add a bag of the steamable butternut squash as well. And this meal may be centered around this bag of radishes that I picked up because I don't like radishes, and I wanted to try them either roasted or fried or something, because I heard that they're really good if you cook them, and so I needed to find this out for myself. And so on Thursday I decided to give it a shot. And for this part of these bowls, I am just putting these ingredients into the same dish, and I'm sprinkling some onions and celery in there as well, just for more flavor, and then some garlic and onion powder on top of all of it. So the onion and the celery, I prepped those a week ago, and I've had them in my freezer, and that way they would be handy whenever I needed them. And it looks like I have added onions and celery to just about every meal, I think. I'm not sure. So anyway, to go with this, I am also cooking up some brats, and then I have these little quinoa cups, and I'm just going to microwave that for 1 minute. And we are obviously going to be doing separate meals in the house on this night, because there are some ingredients in this recipe that I know my family will not eat, like quinoa. They say it looks like bird food, so I did make some instant mashed potatoes for them. And I'm just going to get my bowl made up. And I'm just going to take as much of this cabbage as I want, and it's quite a bit. And then I left the other end for my husband to use when he got home. The kids will not eat cabbage. And then I just made sure I got some of that squash, and then added some of those roasted radishes as well. And as I mentioned, the boys ate brats on buns with mashed potatoes. And I had grown-up food. I just added a little handful of pecans to the center there, and I sliced up one of the brats and added that as well. This bowl was delicious, and I have to say that I love roasted radishes. Cooking them seemed to take away all the bitter and spiciness that radishes have, and the combination of all the other ingredients played really well together. We had our first winter storm come through, and so the roads were really icy. I did make it to work that day, but when I got home, all I wanted to do was just have a hot meal and just call it a day. This was Friday, so I was definitely ready for the weekend, and comfort food was on the menu. Although I was really kind of done with the day. I mean, it had been pretty stressful being out there slipping and sliding around on the roads and cleaning off my car a half a dozen times. I kind of didn't feel like coming home and cooking, but I pushed myself a little, and this meal was super easy, so it wasn't really all that much trouble. I just sliced a package of boneless, skinless chicken breast into halves. I know that my guys are going to want 2 pieces of meat, and by cutting these chicken breasts in half, that means that they can. It's not trickery, it's just cost effective, and they just like to have seconds. Once I have those chicken breasts trimmed up and sliced in half, I just sprayed a baking pan down with some nonstick spray. Then I added my chicken breast and then decided that I wanted to put the potatoes down first so that when the chicken cooks, the juices will run down and flavor up those potato pieces. Salt, pepper, garlic, and onion going on. Now we can add those chicken pieces. Then I'm going to lightly season those chicken breasts with the same blend that I used on the potatoes and add a little bit of paprika as well. There isn't really anything interesting going on with this recipe. It's just one way to get dinner done in a hurry in one pan, I guess. This is just making basic food on a work night just to get your family fed. I love taking corn casserole to a family gathering because there are more people in the family that love the corn casserole that don't actually live in the house, so I rarely make it at home. So I'm using a smaller can of cream corn this time because it's the mushiness that the guys that live here in my house don't care for. So to that Jiffy mix, the cream corn, I am adding an egg and some sour cream. And even though I added less corn to it this time, my hubby said it was delicious, but please don't add corn next time. So you see what I mean? But I love this. And I made it in a smaller cast iron skillet because I like the crispy edges that you get when you use cast iron. In another pan, I am melting some butter so that I can saute some onions and celery. And I am just doctoring up some boxed stuffing. I know that we just had stuffing last week, but it's actually my favorite Thanksgiving side dish. I did decide in the end to make a package of pepper gravy. I just felt like those chicken breasts and potatoes needed a little something else. I just mixed up the gravy packet as it called for on the back with some cold water, brought up the remaining water into a boil, and then added the cold mix to that and gave it a couple of stirs until it all got nice and thick. Then I just poured that gravy on top of the chicken and potatoes, and I know it doesn't look like much, but it did taste really good. And chicken, potatoes, and gravy and stuffing on a cold winter night just hit the spot. I just heated up some canned peas to go along with it, and dinner was done. And that baked corn casserole was so delicious. I just added some butter on top after it came out of the oven. It was time to hibernate. Last but not least, I'm making a side dish that I think everyone in my family enjoys during the holidays: baked mac and cheese. I've played around over the years with different spices and different cheeses, and this seems to be the one that everyone likes the best. In fact, it's what I'll be bringing to our family get-together. But for today, I'm making a pared down version. So I just started by cubing up about a half a block of cream cheese. And next I am just taking a Ziploc baggie and I am greasing up my pan with some butter. Or in this case, it's margarine. I'm using a good amount, and as it cooks, the macaroni and cheese will get this nice crispy edge. Next, I'm pouring in my macaroni noodles, which have already been cooked. And in goes the block of cream cheese. I'm giving them a head start in the hot noodles so they can start melting. Next, I'm seasoning up those noodles with some garlic and onion powder, salt and pepper, of course. And I'm just moving that dish out of the way while I get this Velveeta knockoff from Walmart cut up as well. And I'm going to make a cut right in the center because I'm only using half of this. In the background, you can see I have a couple of dishes. In one dish I have mozzarella, and in the other I have sharp cheddar cheese. Once I have the melty cheese all cut up into cubes, I'm just going to wrap the rest back up and put it back in the fridge. The cream cheese and the melty cheese are what is going to really give your macaroni and cheese a creaminess. And the other two cheeses give it a more homemade taste. I like to play around with different flavored cheeses and use smoked Gouda. I like the habanero cheese sometimes, but this time we're going to keep it pretty simple with some pretty ordinary cheeses just because of the expense of everything right now. I find that lately I've just been keeping everything as basic as possible. And so for the next step, I'm adding a can of evaporated milk. And now you can always use a separate pan and melt down your cheese and your milk and make a sauce or whatever you want to do. But this is how I do it, and it always seems to work out well. I will come back in about halfway and give this dish a stir, just to make sure that the milk and the cheeses are all blending together. After all of my cheese is added, I just give it a stir, and then it's going to go into the oven at 375. And really all you have to do is keep an eye on it. You're only cooking this until the cheese is melted and it starts to get brown on top. I did come back in with a whole stick of melted butter and just poured it right over top of all of those noodles. And to me, this is what turns your regular macaroni and cheese into holiday macaroni and cheese. We wouldn't eat that much butter unless it was a special occasion, right? And here's my mac and cheese coming out of the oven. It is browned, the edges are crispy. You can see that mozzarella and that sharp cheddar in there. It's just so delicious. And although we had the option of having leftover ham with it, I just had my mac and cheese with a salad on the side. That's it for this week. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure that you subscribe. I hope you all have a great week to come, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.